All right, so we're diving deep today into The Slight Edge, this book by Jeff Olson. And, at first the title, The Slight Edge, it kind of threw me off a little. Slight Edge. I mean, it didn't sound like, anything too groundbreaking. But then I got into it. And let me tell you, this book, it really digs into something. It gets into this question of why some people just seem to nail it, achieve their goals, while others, even when they're putting in the effort, they struggle.
Yeah, and what The Slight Edge does so well is it challenges this whole idea we have that to be successful, you need this massive, overnight transformation, like some huge quantum leap forward. But really what it shows is it's those everyday choices, the little things, the stuff that's easy to do, but also just as easy not to do. Those are the things that over time make all the difference.
Okay, so there's this analogy in the book that really stuck with me. This thing about a penny, right? A single penny, doubled every day for a month. I'm reading that thinking, okay, a penny, who cares? But then by the end of the month, boom, it's over $5 million. $5 million. I mean, that just blew me away. So what's the lesson there? What's the takeaway for our listeners?
It all boils down to compound interest, but not just with money, It's compound interest applied to, pretty much every area of your life. Olson's saying that your skills, your knowledge, even your relationships, they all grow in this exponential way when you make small, positive changes consistently. Like, imagine improving just a tiny bit each day, like 0.0003%. Doesn't sound like much, right? But do that every day for a year, and guess what? You've doubled your progress. It's wild, right?
Yeah, it's almost sneaky how those small things add up.
Right, and the book uses this example of water hyacinths, those tiny plants that double in size every day. On their own, they're no big deal, but given time, they can completely take over an entire lake.
It's almost like a secret weapon then, this slight edge idea. Because we're so used to looking for that one big thing, that magic bullet that's going to make us successful overnight.
Exactly, and it's easy to miss the power of those small, consistent actions. Like, think about Neil Armstrong landing on the moon. We celebrate that as this huge, giant leap for mankind. But what we often forget are all the tiny steps that led up to it. All those hours of work, the failures, the adjustments, all those little things.
So you're saying even our biggest goals, even the ones that seem impossible, they become achievable when we break them down into those slight edge actions.
Precisely. It's about shifting our focus from trying to do everything at once to taking one small step at a time. It's not about climbing Mount Everest in a day. It's about making the climb consistently.
Okay, that makes sense. But the book also talks about how easy it is to slip up, to fall into those easy not to do actions, right?
And Olson uses his own life as an example, like with Gorgeous George and all that. Yeah, he's very open about his own struggles. He starts the book talking about his younger days, dropping out of college, going by Gorgeous George, not really applying himself.
Kind of relatable, right? We've all had those moments where we're just drifting.
Totally. And it's easy to get stuck in that rut.
So how did Gorgeous George end up writing a book about success then? Was there some big turning point, some, epiphany?
Well, he does have this sort of aha moment, what he calls his day of disgust, that really motivates him to turn things around. He goes back to school, does really well, gets a great job at Texas Instruments, even starts his own company.
Okay. Sounds like a success story then.
It is, but there's a twist,
Yeah.
Even after all that, his company fails and he's left with tons of debt. And it's that experience that really leads him to these slight edge principles.
So even after achieving success, he still hits a major roadblock.
Mm-hmm.
Is he saying that even if we do everything right, we're not guaranteed success?
Well, what Olson realized, and what's at the heart of the book, is that both his success and his failure weren't about some grand sweeping actions. It was the accumulation of all those small daily choices. Like he was climbing that mountain, making good choices, right? But then, without even realizing it, he started taking steps back, making those easy not to do choices. And those little steps back, they added up.
So it's like, even when we're on the right track, we can't get complacent. We got to be aware of those little choices we're making every day.
Exactly, because those choices, they're constantly shaping our direction, whether we realize it or not. It's like steering a ship, A tiny adjustment to the rudder might not seem like much at first, but over time, it completely changes where the ship ends up.
Okay, that's a great analogy. And it really brings us to this idea of the slight edge mindset. So what does that even mean? How do we cultivate that kind of thinking?
The slight edge mindset is all about shifting our perspective, It's about realizing that success isn't some finish line you cross. It's about embracing the journey, understanding it's built on consistent effort.
So it's about playing the long game, recognizing that what we do today, those small choices, they're laying the foundation for our future.
You got it. And it takes a real shift in our thinking. We're so used to wanting results right away, that instant gratification, that it can be hard to stick with things when we don't see immediate payoff.
Yeah, that's so true.
But the slight edge mindset, it's about trusting the process, knowing that those consistent efforts, even if they're invisible right now, they're creating a ripple effect that will get us where we want to be.
So we're talking about mindset, but how do we actually, put this slight edge stuff into practice?
Well, that's where this idea of easy to do, easy not to do really comes in.
Okay.
The book, it makes this point that the actions themselves, they don't have to be huge,
Right.
It's more about making small changes you can stick with.
So like what kind of changes? Can you give us some examples?
Sure, let's say you're thinking about health and fitness.
Right. Yeah.
Instead of trying to completely change your diet overnight, maybe just start by swapping out those sugary drinks.
Swap them for what? Water.
Exactly, water. Or if the idea of a long workout just makes you want to curl up on the couch.
Oh, you know me so well.
Commit to something simple, like a 15-minute walk each day.
Okay, see, those things do sound easy to do. But honestly, they're just as easy not to do, right?
And that's exactly the point.
Yeah.
It's so easy to talk ourselves out of those small things. We tell ourselves, I'll do it tomorrow, or it's just one day. What difference does it make?
It's that slippery slope.
But that's the thing. Those are the exact choices that, over time, determine whether we succeed or not.
So how do we avoid that? How do we stay on track?
Olson talks a lot about building positive habits.
But
So those easy-to-do actions, when you repeat them enough, they become almost automatic.
like second nature.
Exactly. And he also talks about the power of momentum.
Momentum, interesting.
Once you start seeing some wins, even small ones, it creates this positive feedback loop. It's like it gives you the motivation to keep going.
Oh, I like that. So it's not just about doing the actions. It's about recognizing those little victories along the way.
Exactly. Celebrate those wins no matter how small. And another thing, don't underestimate the power of accountability.
Accountability.
Telling a friend or a family member, even a mentor, about your goals can make a world of difference.
Oh, yeah. Having someone to check in with.
Exactly. Someone to encourage you, someone to celebrate those wins with. It can really help you stick with it.
That makes a lot of sense. There's a story in the book that really stuck with me.
Oh, yeah. Which one?
It's the story about the shoeshine woman.
Ah, yes.
I think it ties into what we were just talking about those invisible results. Can you remind me how that one goes?
Absolutely. So Olson's talking about this time when he's this successful businessman, right?
Okay.
He's feeling pretty good about himself. Sharp suit, the whole 9 yards.
Living the dream.
He's getting his shoes shined, and the woman shining his shoes, she sees his fancy suit, his watch, and she asks him what he does.
So he's thinking, yeah, I've made it, right?
Exactly. But then she asks him this question, are you happy?
Uh-oh.
And he hesitates. He's caught off guard. He realizes, even with all this outward success, he's not really fulfilled. He's been so focused on those big milestones, he's totally neglected those small, everyday things that actually make you happy.
It's like he achieves success, but not happiness.
Right. And it's a reminder that success isn't just about hitting some external goal. It's about creating a life that feels meaningful every single day.
Yeah, it's about those little choices we make each day, the things we often overlook.
Exactly. And then the book talks about this idea of association, too.
Association.
Yeah. Olson says our income, our health, even our mindset, they tend to reflect the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with.
Who we hang out with.
Exactly. So it's a good reminder to think about who you're surrounding yourself with.
Yeah, that makes sense. Are the people you're closest to, are they inspiring you? Are they pushing you to grow?
Right. Are they lifting you up or are they holding you back?
Okay, so if we want to achieve those slight edge results, we need to be around people who are already living that way.
That's a great way to put it. It's about finding people who embody those values of consistent action, positive thinking, personal growth, all of that.
It's like building a support system for your slight edge journey.
I like that, a support system. Because when you're around people who are also committed to those small, positive changes, it makes it that much easier to stick with it.
It reinforces those good habits.
Exactly. Okay, so the book also gives us some practical strategies for figuring out what those easy-to-do actions are and how to actually put them into practice.
Okay, lay it on me.
Well, Olson suggests breaking down your big goals into smaller, bite-sized steps.
Makes them less intimidating, right?
Exactly. He also says focus on actions that you actually enjoy, things that you can keep doing over the long haul. That's what makes them easy to do.
So it's not about forcing ourselves to do things we hate. It's about finding things we actually like that also help us reach our goals.
Exactly. And it's about being patient.
Oh, patience. That's a tough one.
He reminds us that this is a long game. It's about trusting the process, knowing that those consistent efforts, they will pay off.
And to stay committed, he suggests this slight edge habits plan, right? What's that all about?
It's about getting really clear on what your values and goals are and then figuring out specific actions that align with those. And he also says, track your progress, celebrate your wins. It helps you stay motivated and reminds you that your efforts are making a difference.
So it's like creating a roadmap for your slight edge journey, right?
I love that. A roadmap. You map out those small steps that'll eventually lead you to your destination.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
You know, I also noticed the book talks a lot about gratitude.
Gratitude, yes. That's a big part of the slight edge philosophy.
What do you think that is?
Well, gratitude is powerful. It can really shift your perspective. When you focus on what you're grateful for, it helps you appreciate the progress you're making, even when things are tough.
It helps you see the good, even when you're facing challenges.
Exactly. And that feeling of gratitude, it can be a huge motivator.
Oh, how so?
When you're thankful for what you have, you're more likely to take care of it, to want to keep making those positive choices.
So it's not just about feeling good, it's about fueling that motivation to keep going.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be complicated. Just take a few minutes each day to think about the things you're grateful for.
Yeah, that's simple enough.
You could start a gratitude journal, write a thank you note, or just tell someone you appreciate them.
Those are great ideas. And you know, it really highlights how the slight edge isn't just about achieving some big, fancy goal. It's about creating a life that feels good, that feels meaningful every single day.
You got it. It's those small, everyday choices that really shape our lives.
It's like we have more control than we think.
We really do. We're not just along for the ride. We're the ones creating our own reality.
One thing that really hit home for me in the slight edge is how it kind of throws out this whole success is all about luck thing.
Yeah.
It's like Olson saying, you know, you actually have way more control than you think.
It is empowering, right? But I can see how it could feel a little scary at first, because once you realize your life is basically the result of all these little choices, well, that's a big responsibility.
But it's exciting too, right? It means we can shape our own future.
Totally. But let's be real. We're not going to be perfect.
Yeah.
We're going to mess up. We're going to have days where we just don't feel like it. Does the book talk about that? Because that's where I think a lot of people just give up.
Oh, for sure. And Olson's totally honest about that. He knows we're going to have setbacks, make mistakes, have those off days. But what he emphasizes is don't let those setbacks completely derail you.
So it's not about being perfect. It's about getting back on track, learning from those slip-ups and keeping moving forward.
Exactly. And he talks about self-compassion, you know. Like those slip-ups, they don't define us. The book also shares a bunch of stories about people who've actually used the slight edge. Are there any that really stand out to you? Maybe one that'll resonate with our listeners.
There's this one story about a woman, a single mom. She was really struggling financially, but she just consistently applied these principles. She started saving a tiny bit of money each month, even if it was just a few bucks. And she focused on learning new skills, which eventually led to a better job.
So those small actions, they built on each other.
They did. And over time, she not only achieved financial stability, but she created a better future for her kids, too.
It shows it doesn't matter where you start. It's about those consistent choices. It's like Olson saying, success is available to anyone who's willing to put in the work.
And to help you stick with it, he gives some great advice, like create a visual representation of your goals, maybe a vision board, or a chart to track your progress.
So you can actually see those small wins adding up.
Exactly. And he also talks about accountability again. Sharing your goals with someone who can support you, encourage you.
It's like building a team for your slight edge journey.
Right. Surrounding yourself with people who inspire you.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the slight edge, I think the key takeaway is that success isn't about some magic formula. It's about making the choice every day to align your actions with your goals.
And trusting that those actions, even the small ones, will get you there. It's a message of hope. You know, we have the power to create the life we want. And it doesn't have to be these huge dramatic changes. It's the little things done consistently that make all the difference.
And those little things, they're available to everyone. It's not about talent or luck. It's about showing up for yourself day after day. So as we leave our listeners with all this to think about, I want to ask, what's one small positive action you can commit to starting today? It could be anything. Reading, taking a walk, practicing gratitude. The key is to find something that works for you, something you can actually stick with.
Yeah, write it down, tell someone about it, and most importantly, take action. Because those small, consistent steps, that's how you get extraordinary results. Olson says the slight edge is always at work. The question is it working for you or against you?
That's all for our deep dive into the slight edge. We hope you found it helpful and inspiring. Remember to share your chosen slight edge action on social media. And until next time, keep diving deep.